kill them. I must continue to dominate. It's just, it's wicked. Jenny in Florida, you're on the air with Pastor Chuck Baldwin. Go ahead. Thanks for holding. Then Ryan, Earl, Kathy, Chris, and others. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Good. Welcome.
First of all, I want to say thank you for everything what you do or you done.
Thank you.
But my feel is everybody's going to the bad way. Everybody gonna fix a problem that we have today. We have to fix a problem we have in the past first, and it's so much easier. And believe me, we have a very deep secret in the past. Could you follow me?
Yeah, no, I hear you. We have a deep secret in the past. Well, we're talking about how our churches have been turned into basically government arms. Do you have a question or comment for Chuck Baldwin, or what's the secret?
No, a secret. You believe or not, it may be so strange, but I decoded Leonardo da Vinci. I decoded a whole thing. Well,
listen, send me that information. That's very interesting. Send me that information at showtips@infowars.com. Thank you. I know there's supposedly a lot of stuff encoded in there, and that's a big field out there. Ryan in Texas, you're on there with Chuck Baldwin. We got to move quick. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right, I just got a 20-second comment I want to make. When you look on the drugs report, they say that we're the criminals and terrorists. Well, the real criminals and terrorists are the puppets that are in the office that are voting for these unconstitutional bills. If you voted for the Patriot Act and or its renewal, criminal. The Super Congress, criminal. Banks, criminals. And see, if I steal from my company, I get fired. They steal from the country, and they're retiring. You know, there's cameras on every corner acting like I'm a criminal while they're live on camera being criminals. I don't want to wait till next November for a change. We need to arrest these criminals now. We are the tireless minority, and I don't want to just impeach the president. We need to impeach all these criminals. They want a super Congress. I want a super impeachment.
Very well said. Thank you for the call, Ryan. That's a good question for you, Chuck. I'm sure you've seen Harry Reid call the Tea Partiers terrorist. The New York Times says that anybody who wants to get rid of the Federal Reserve is, quote, Hezbollah. They're rebranding and saying we're not worried about al-Qaeda now. And I told folks this was coming. It's particularly white males and Christians. And we've got all these White House memos about how great a terror attack would be to help them. We have Joe Biden saying the Tea Party are terrorists. They're really trial ballooning, coming after people that understand that they are the criminals.
Yeah, well, I got a little taste of that in 2008, Alex, whenever the MIAC report came out in the state of Missouri and identified myself and Ron Paul and Bob Barr by name. And of course, you were on top of all that. You broke the story on that one, and that thing became a major debacle, an embarrassment for the law enforcement officials in the state of Missouri that later rescinded the report and dismissed the man that initiated it. But the damage was done, and ever since then, that has been continuing. The Department of Homeland Security, through their fusion centers, continues to put out this kind of disinformation.
Well, I was about to say, MIAC was just a regurgitated ADL federal report.
That's exactly right, SPLC. And they continue. These reports continue. I promise you, everywhere you go to speak, everywhere I go to speak, and there is a report that appears in the computers of the local and county law enforcement officers, alerting them to the fact that we are there, identifying us as extremists, et cetera. And I'm not just saying that by hearsay. I actually saw a police computer report one time when I invited Dr. Greg Dixon to come and speak to my church, a great man of God, the former pastor of Indianapolis Baptist Temple in Indianapolis, Indiana, that was seized by the IRS, the only church in America to do so. And whenever he came to speak, Deputy Sheriff let me see the computer in his car, alerting him to Dr. Dixon's presence in my church. Now, that came from DHS through the Fusion Center into the local and county law enforcement.
Oh, yeah, that's who they're watching when they get the Christmas Day underwear bomber. The government admits they got him on the plane, all staged. Amarillo-Lockheed hanging out secretly at the Pentagon, Fox News. But I got sent a secret report from the Army that at my events for In the Fed and Ron Paul's, they have Army there. And it says, don't let them know you're Army. They'll try to kill you. I mean, they're telling the military that if you come to an In the Fed rally and we find out they're military, we're going to kill them, Pastor, like we're vampires or something.
Yeah, that's what it's come to. And again, my Romans 13 book is at chuckbaldwin.com.
Hold on, stay there. Let's play it on the other side, do a few more minutes, and take a few more calls. Absolutely, folks. That's why we've got him here today. We'll give you his website on the other side if you want to get it and get it out to your pastor. And if your pastor reads it and still keeps going forward, get out of that church. Okay, I'm going to go quicker through your calls and recap some of the incredible news from earlier and some of the news we haven't gotten to and a little bit on court side. But I wanted Chuck Baldwin to finish plugging the name of his book, where you get it. And again, it's just like we had Sheriff Richard Mack in here last week, and we're like, go to his website, get his book. I'm not being paid to promote it. I've got him here because I believe in it. If we go wake up our sheriffs about the Constitution, wake up the pastors about their true role in history, if we go and educate our city councils, our legislatures about the Constitution, what do the globalists do? What do the feds do? I mean, I knew about this decades ago, but now I've learned they've more than tripled the number of Federal Reserve paid speakers who will be heads of city governments, corporate leaders. They're paid to go speak to high school classes. They're paid to go speak to colleges. They're paid to go to the Rotary Club. And they will pay top lawyers, famous people. I mean, they've just got a huge army of them to go be there, to go meet them, to go slickly sell what they're doing. So you're not going to beat the New World Order by yourself. I'm not either. But it's all of us out there waking people up everywhere. I call it evangelizing for liberty and freedom. Because believe me, the tyrants are out there selling their corruption. So again, give folks your website and the name of the book so folks can get it, Pastor.
Thank you very much, Alex. My son and I, Tim Baldwin, and he's a constitutional attorney. Of course, I've been a pastor for 35 years. We collaborated on this monumental book. It's called Romans 13, The True Meaning of Submission. And it's available on my website and Tim's website. My website is chuckbaldwinlive.com. That's all one word, chuckbaldwinlive, Live.com. And there's a link right there on the front page. You see it advertised. Just click that, get it online, credit cards, etc., and able to pick this up. And it's it's just under 200 pages. It's chock full of scripture references from both testaments. We have theologians, historians, and Christians from history and their comments on what they said about this subject. And I challenge anyone to read this book and then not be convinced that we have a sacred obligation to resist evil authority.
And by the way,
Franklin,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Benjamin Franklin said, rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. And he was exactly right. That is a scriptural truism, that it is an obligation of Christian people to resist evil government.
But Pastor, as you know, this is a chicken or egg situation. If you've really got God in your heart, you're not going to be able to control yourself. You're going to be drawn towards confronting bullies and scum. And I think that's the issue. So I think the book should be gotten out to pastors because maybe they're ignorant, and it will certainly wake some up. But also, it's a test. If your pastor reads it and then argues with you about it, because I've read the Bible, I've studied history, it's just common sense. It's a no-brainer. But if they read this very well-written, well-researched historical document and they still don't listen, then you need to find a better church. And I think your book should be really a litmus test for churches. What do you say to that, Pastor Baldwin?
Oh, wow. I think. Thank you, Alex. I think that's true. I couldn't tell you how many people have read the book and have called us back or written us and said, you know what, this confirmed everything that I knew in my heart was true, but I didn't know where to find it in the Bible. I didn't know where to see it in print, but now I see it, and they have done that very thing. Now I'm looking for a church that will preach the truth relative to this vitally important subject. And I know people all over America that are doing that, so I think that is exactly... If we don't start voting with our feet, we Christians, if we don't start voting with our feet and getting out of these churches that are bringing us into bondage spiritually, politically, ethically, and every other way, and start finding true men of God out there, even if the church is a small little church with only 30 or 40 people in it, so what? Be in a church where the truth is being preached, and God will bless your family, and more than that, God will bless our nation. I could not agree more.
Yeah, we got to do it. We've turned away from the basic principles, and now look what we're getting. The Constitution, Bill of Rights goes out the door. corruption and absolute poverty comes in. I mean, it's real simple. We got to get the tyranny out of here, but we got to replace it with something. Let's go to who's up next here. I'll take a few calls, then we're going to let our guests go, and then I'll continue with calls. Earl in Georgia, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Yes, sir. I'm a first-time caller. I've listened to you for a while, and I'm an admirer of Chuck Baldwin. I followed him on the Internet for a while. Lost track, though, over the last year. However, I guess this is a question I have directed to Chuck. I know your son's a constitutional lawyer. And the way I read the Constitution, there is a separation of powers, and it says that the Supreme Court is supposed to act upon the legislation that Congress passes. I know they've been out of control as well as every other branch, but is your son being a constitutional lawyer? I am asking, I suppose, with this latest legislation that has been enacted, which strips Congress of its power to introduce financial legislation.
And if they don't vote for what the supercommittee gives them, then the supercommittee can do whatever they want. It is a dictatorship of 13. It goes about 90% of the way. I will give you a constitutional answer on that. Of course, the Supreme Court should be causing a fracas over this and pointing out that it's blatantly unconstitutional. But so should the vast majority of House members of both parties that voted for it. They voted away their power. Sorry, you can't vote away our Constitution. Chuck, your comments on that.
Yeah, exactly right. And Tim's very involved in these types of things. And of course, this one here is fraught with unconstitutionality. And I would like to think that there's going to be several constitutional attorneys and scholars that are going to come forth and fight this. I certainly hope so.
But yes, ma'am, this is brazenly unconstitutional. Any other comments?
Well, I am just asking, as a citizen who called every body that I knew yesterday and also sent emails, called Congressman's office and told them to vote no, is there anything else, as citizens, can we enact a class action suit against them?
Well, anything will help, because even if you don't win it, it draws attention to it. I'm telling you, resistance is victory. I appreciate your call.
Can I just say, Alex, here, go to my son's website and contact him, please. His website is libertydefenseleague.com, all one word, libertydefenseleague.com. And feel free to communicate with him and ask him these questions, and he will respond to you.
Yeah, we've got to get him back on. He's been on before. He's great. Almost better than his pop.
He is.
Use a Yankee term. Let's go ahead and talk to Kathy in Indiana. You're on the air. Go ahead. Hey, Kathy, you're on. You're up. Batter up, Kathy. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, Kathy. Oh, our phones just went down. That only happens once or twice a year. Oh, our phones just went into cardiac arrest. Okay, great. Even when I try to go to your calls, yeah, Chuck's on a different phone system. Chuck, you can still hear me, can't you?
Yeah, I can still hear you, Alex.
All right, John, when the phones are back up, let me know, and we'll just take calls from those folks, then get back on and get on air. 800-259-9031. Well, Pastor, I want to thank you for coming on, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the near future.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for letting me be on the show, and keep up the great work.
Are you kidding? Thanks for writing that book. I mean,
yeah. Well, we want to get it out, and we want people to get the message, and we really believe that the Christian and the churches is where the real power is in this country. It's always been that way. We, the people, are the government, and we are the power in this country. And if you can get the pastors and the Christians to understand their obligation and their duties under God, and I think of that scripture verse where Jesus said, if the salt has lost its savor, it's henceforth good for nothing but to be trodden under the foot of men and cast out. And that's exactly what's happened. The church has lost its saltiness, and it's being cast out and trodden under the foot of tyranny. And Romans 13 and the misinterpretation of it is one of the biggest reasons why this book is a major, major breakthrough, I think, in helping people to have the information scripturally, historically, at their fingertips to know how to deal with that. And again, if they'll go to chuckbaldwinlive.com, all one word, chuckbaldwinlive.com, they can order that book.
Okay. We look forward to speaking to you again in the near future. Take care.